And my little one, come here, Mary. Come say shalom.
Shalom.
So everybody have a Baruch, a blessed day. Baruch Yom Day, a blessed day. Come on.
Have a Baruch Yom Day.
A blessed day.
A blessed day.
You say with the Most High. Is that right thing you can say? So if he's telling you to say anything, let's go ahead and say, okay?
Yes.
Go ahead. Before. Why don't you sing this in? Start us out with the Shama. 1, 2, 3.
Shema Israel. Yahweh Eloheinu. Yahweh Echad. Shema Israel. Yahweh Eloheinu. Yahweh Echad. Shema.
Israel.
Shema.
Israel.
Shema.
Israel.
Shema Israel. Yahweh Eloheinu. Yahweh Echad.
Thank you, babe. Shama Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. I will love the Most High Yah with all my heart, with all my soul, with all my might, with all my strength. So we will love the Most High Yah with all we have. And you can see right there what happened was we made it into a pretty much a song. It comes out of Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. It says, Israel, remember this. The Lord and the Lord alone is our God. You will love your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and all your might. Never forget these commands that I'm giving you today. Teach them to your children. Repeat them. When you are at home. When you are away. When you are resting. And when you are working. And he says, tie them. On your arms. And wear them on your foreheads. As a reminder. Write them on the doorposts of your house and your gates.
Write them on the posts in the house of your gates.
Right. So shalom. So I know I came on a little early today. We have to try to use our time wisely today. Amira, she has her gymnastics meet at around 5 o'clock, 5:15. So we're gonna have to leave out and go to her meet afterwards. So right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna do good?
Mm-hmm.
Say it.
Yes.
No, you don't want to say it. Okay. So listen, today's lesson, shalom, is gonna come out of the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3. What I'm gonna do is hold on for a second. Send the invites out. I believe at this point in time, we don't need to really send an invite. We come on pretty much around the same time. So if you can,
Hi, Mom.
come on. The Most High Yah, I greatly appreciate that you're helping to support Harim Shalamet, our elder, and let the word of the Most High Yah say so. Let his word go forth. And I just hope everybody is enjoying the Sabbath rest, enjoying, today. I know we had some rain last night, but the rain is also is great for us. Brings balance. It allows us to get full growth. But all right, shalom, baby. Today's lesson, shalom, Mom. Shalom, Prophet. All right, today's lesson is going to come out of Ecclesiastes chapter 3. It's not going to really come forth out of Ecclesiastes 3, but I'm going to begin there. As we know, it's a time for everything. Everything that happens in this world happens at the time that Yahweh chooses, God chooses. He sets a time for birth and a time for death, a time for planting, a time for pulling up, a time for killing, and a time for healing. Shalom, y'all. A time for tearing down, a time for building. He sets a time for sorrow and a time for joy, the time for mourning and the time for dancing, the time for making love and the time for not making love, the time for kissing and the time for not kissing. He sets a time for finding He sets a time for losing, the time for savings, the time for throwing away, the time for tearing, the time for mending, the time for silence, the time for talk. He sets a time for love and the time for hate, the time for war and the time for peace. Shalom, Sister Sharon. So as we look at Ecclesiastes chapter 3, I was saying I had to come on a little bit early today. Amira has a gymnastics meet at 5 o'clock, 5:15. And I know we're going to be kind of stretching out. Let me get my watch on so I can keep track of time or some. But I think we should be able to make it through. If not, to be continued, or I'll come back on this evening. But it's good to see y'all. So today's lesson, I mean, we've been told in life, things happen for a reason, right? So we understand some things are out of our control. Some things are in our control. Some things we're responsible for, and we don't want to be responsible for. See, the Most High sometimes as we go through things, he's going to test you. He's going to test me. And a lot of it is because as we understand, he who endures to the end, we're enduring. You're in a constant time, Prophet, right? Where we're constantly proving ourselves, right? And every time, you prove yourself, you're proving what? The enemy wrong, right? But what the enemy sometimes wants you to do is fall short of your assignment, Mom. So today's lesson is basically going to be accept your placement. Accept your placement. I know we could use the word accept your assignment, but we have to also know when the assignment is starting to end its course, when it's time to wrap the assignment up, when it's time to go ahead and move forward in life, because often we get so stuck in one assignment and it's just like at work. Most jobs you have to be multi-talented, or most jobs you have to be able to do more than one thing at one time. You generate all your time in one thing, other things start to come short. It's the same way in your life. It's the same way that, we got to find balance in all, and we got to ask the Most High, Yah, for what? Yah, tell me your Zaman or your Kairos time, but tell me when it's time to move forward and wrap things up, or tell me when it's time to start something new. So when we look, Prophet Jason, we understand the word time. When we look at Ecclesiastes 3, the word is ayith, and it's an appointed time, a circumstance. Now, it could also mean a period of time. I want y'all to get this. Seasons, and it's Strong's 6256. Strong 6256, ayith, an appointed time, right? But it also means it could be a time that's continuous, an interval, and a meal time, right? So when we look at that, I was talking to Prophet Jason because one of the concordance I was looking at in the reverse definition, look at Sister Sharon for that, it had asterisks next to that. So in the beginning, the appointed time was saying that it's a circumstance, it's now, it's the period, it's a season, it's timely, right? But when you looked at the word and you saw the asterisks in Strong's 6256, I think I was on Bible Gateway. They did have, and when there's an asterisk or parentheses or maybe italics or the words are written are different, it has like another meaning or a sub meaning that it's not meaning that meaning at that time, right? And the thing is sometimes, when we look at the word timing, we often think timing always means a lifetime. Y'all get this, right? But timing, according to ayith and Strong 6256, it's telling you that it's a time period, an appointed time. That means something that the Most High Yah has set away in a time period that he set out for us, right? So we sometimes end up being stuck, right? Like your soul's on ice. You're stuck where you are only supposed to be there temporarily, right? And a lot of times that happens, like I said, we deal with the mental here. A lot of it deals with our mindset. Like we saw, there was a time for mourning. There was a time for planning, a time for birthing. If you continue to plant all season long, we have to realize that even though we plant, if you think about the world, and I understand there's certain places in the world where they have, Prophet Jason, Mom, a continuous growth season. The season is constantly growing, but as things grow and as things die, it what revitalizes the earth. When sometimes things come to an end, it's what to start and prepare a new beginning, right? So as the crops grow, just imagine if it just grew all the time. Well, where's the nutrients in the ground coming from? A lot of the nutrients come from what? The seeds that fell, or the rotten apple that didn't grow, and it goes back into the ground, and then it makes the ground moist, and then I'm using an analogy, then the worms come, and they cultivate, and they start the whole process over again in the ground, and makes the ground refertile for the process, right? But, we have to be careful because, we have to be careful because we got to understand timing and understand why the Most High Yah says time is very important. So let's just go back to the very beginning. Let's go to Genesis chapter 12, right? We'll go to Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. Shalom. And when we look at this, let me just start. I go Genesis 12, 1 through 3. And Yahweh said to Abram, he said, leave your country, your relatives, and I know we know the story, your father's home, and go to a land that I'm going to show you. I will give you many descendants, right? So we're starting out about him what? Obeying, Shema, listening, hearing, right? I know Abraham was comfortable. I know he was okay. He was like, listen, I like all I have. Because when you go back and see his genealogy and understand who his father was and understand, they were people of what? Of high esteem. They just weren't, just some raggedy rag sitting out. No, they were people who said, why do I need to leave to go somewhere that I don't know, to start all over, to start my life? But the Most High is showing you here, he said, Abram, your future generations, it's time to move forward. You have what? Reached your benchmark. You have reached the finish line. You are finished here. I need you to move forward and have faith, right? So I will what? Give you many descendants, and they will become a great nation. I will, Baruch, bless you and make your name famous, so you will be blessing. He says, I will bless those who bless you, but I will curse those who curse you. And through you, I will bless what? All nations, right? So, the Most High is showing us here that these are the things that are going to happen if you just what? Listen to my word. Most High was saying here, okay, I'm calling you, Abram. Remember, we use Abraham. I'm calling you. I understand Terah. I understand, your father. I understand Haram. I understand Lot. I understand everything that they have. And I don't want you. See, he wants it to be comfortable, but not too comfortable. Because when we get too comfortable, what? Sometimes we lose focus of what our goal is. You'll get it? My goal is to lose 60 pounds. Now you get to 40 pounds and you're like, you know what? I look good. This is looking good. And I get it. Some people, you got to keep some weight on you. But now what happens is you're like your original goal of 60 pounds you never met because what? You got distracted by what? How you looked. You got distracted by, you're like, man, okay, well, if I lost 40 pounds, I'm buying new clothes. I know I need to lose 60. The doctor told me to lose 60, but I don't want to lose more weight because now I got to buy another clothes again. And now we're dealing with seasons. So it may take you a whole year or 2 years. And you're like, I got all these clothes sitting in this closet that I can't fit, that I can't wear, all this money I spent. But listen, you don't see the end result of it, right? You stick to your goal. You listen to what the Most High is telling you and telling us during the season. Reach it. Don't become distracted, right? So let me jump to Second Kings chapter 2, verse 2. So we saw that Abram, right? Hey, the Most High said, if you do these things, these are the things going to happen. Most of us, we know the story. Shalom, Sister Sharon. We know the story by now. 2 Kings chapter 2. And I'm going to start at Prophet Jason verse 1. The time came for Yahuwah to take Elijah up to heaven in a whirlwind. Elijah and Elisha set out from Gilead, from Gilgal, and on their way, Elijah said to Elisha, now stay here. Yahuwah, Yahweh has ordered me to go to Bethel. So I know right now, think about it. You're walking with him. You're walking with the prophet. You're walking with the one who, hey, I left everything. I left my family, right? Because the Spirit of the Most High told me you were the place that you are the person I'm supposed to be with. I'm supposed to take care of you. I'm supposed to minister to you. And now you're telling me what? You're getting up and you're going to leave? I know that had to been tough on Elisha. So, but Elisha answered, I swear by my loyalty to the living Lord and to you that I will not leave you, right? So they went on to Bethel, right? So here we go. Elisha's like, wait, you're telling me to leave you, but I knew I had to stay with you because I was giving what? A placement. I was given an assignment. I was giving what? There was a season that, you know, I could have, I'm using this. I'm Elisha. I could have met you when I was 12. I could have met you when I was 19, but I met you at this age, and the Most High Yah is what? It was his way. He opened up the door. So as we go and we see, right? So a group of prophets who lived there went to Elisha and asked him, do you know that Yah is going to take your master away from you today? Wow, that was deep. So, you know, wait, if he had stayed back, right, maybe he would not have gotten the word and would have known. Right? Because you got to remember, word got away different back then. They didn't have the cell phone. They didn't have the cell phone. They didn't have the phone. They didn't have internet, email. It was like you may not hear something from 2-3 years and be like, hey, whatever happened to so-and-so? And especially dealing with the prophets, they moved on their own and they were all over. So you just may be like, okay, it's like me walking on foot. I moved to New York and everybody in my area hasn't heard from me for like 2 years. Well, then they hear 2 years later, hey, well, he's in California, right? But the point is, what I'm getting is that we have to pay attention and listen to Yah when he says, listen, this is your assignment. This is your placement. And I'm giving you a zaman. I'm giving you a time period that, you know, sometimes we have to wrap these things up. Sometimes, you know, we miss that Yah sends us signs. He sends us wonders. He'll even sends people as spokespersons, as spokespeople for us. But see, you know, a lot of times when you deal with prophets, and I was just talking to the kids, Mary's on here downstairs, and we were watching a Bible show, and it was talking about it was dealing with when they ended up in Acts chapter 9, Acts chapter 10, when they ended up not giving the Most High all what they had. The Most High spoke to the prophets, and the prophets already knew and say, listen, they didn't do what they weren't giving willingly, so I'm going to decide to take you out, right? So what was happening with that is that, you know, sometimes people missed the mark, and we missed the mark in our own family because, you know, there was a warning. The warning took place. They were telling them, and you know, and they should have probably been able, you know, talking about his wife, was it Sapphira? She should have been able to understand that, wait, there was a warning coming. There was a time period that I had that they're answering me these questions. These questions are coming from prophets that pretty much already know the answers. I was pretty much telling my kids that. And when you live with prophets, as mom, you know, I know it's hard. It's like, y'all know, you just know. So y'all will sometimes just come, they're lying. Y'all come straight to you, tell you, yep, nope, that's not it. Boom, send something in a dream, boom. And when you give them the word, sometimes like, well, that's just mom there. No, we got to take off our glasses that I'm just seeing you as mom, but I need to see you as a spokesperson, as the Most High, because the word that you're trying to tell me is something that I need to hear. See, sometimes what happens is when we are supposed to move forward on our assignment, or we met the goal, we stay too long, right? We start doing too much. You know, that's a new saying out in the street. Y'all doing too much. You're doing too much, right? But we gotta learn, and we got to know when it's time to stay, when it's time to go, when we reach the goal, when we are, see, it goes back to having Shema, the ear to hear the Most High, right? So when the Most High is saying this is for a season, remember, we started in Ecclesiastes. I know I'm moving quick today. He started, there's a time for everything, right? And as we start to, as the world is evolving, the time is evolving, we have to start to understand the concept of time. See, Hebraically, time means something different than the time that we mean on our wrist, right? and we're going to come back for that, right? So check this out. Let's go to Mark chapter 5. Yeah, Mark chapter 5, verse 16. And then I'm gonna get into this lesson. This is just a quick segue. That's jumping into it, okay? Mark chapter 5, verse 16. So when we look at Mark chapter 5, 16, right? I'll see how I'll start reading into it. Yeshua was dealing with what? The man with the evil spirit, right? So what happened is, I'm summarizing, go back and read in full, right? So they were Yeshua, he ended up healing the man, right? The man was he was asking, he needs to be healed. This is where we heard that he cast the demons into the herd of pigs. And then when we jumped in and we go through, the man was healed. Those who have seen it told the people what happened to the man with the demons and about the pigs. So check this. So they asked Yeshua to what? Leave their territory, right? So people were seeing these things that were happening. People were seeing the signs, the miracles, the wonders, the things that were happening. And Yeshua, I know he can't say it, but he's probably like, wait, I'm doing all this work, right? And, people are asking me to end up leaving out of a town, right? So he could have stood his guard. He could have stood his ground. Stood his ground. But even he listened to the people who in the land who told him to leave, right? So our king likely wanted to stay. But he said, wait, you're telling me it's time for me to leave their territory, right? So verse 18, as Yeshua was getting a boat, the man who had the demons begged him, let me go with you. But Yeshua would not let him. Instead, he told him, go back home to your family. Tell them how much Yah has done for you and how kind he has been. So the man left and went all through the 10 towns telling Yeshua what was done, right? So Yeshua understood right here. He was like, yo, listen, it's time for me to go. Our king even understood that. He even understood whether they were people that were believers or they were unbelievers that were telling him, because we saw later on where they were telling him, hey, you need to leave, you need to flee. We understood even in the very beginning when you deal with his parents, they understood when they had to leave, when they said, listen, you need to leave and go to Egypt. You need to leave Egypt, go back to the land. And then at the time, no, the angel says, no, don't go back. They understood the timing and they understood the assignment. See, sometimes we get stuck. We would have stayed here, right? And we know this is our king. We use us. They're telling us to leave. You better hurry up and leave because we ain't like what you did, right? And we turn around and we try to what? Go and save everybody. And now we become a victim because we didn't take heed to the warning. We didn't take heed of the word that was spoken, prophet, right? So we stick around. We stay too long because sometimes we get comfy. Sometimes we like what we're doing. It's like at work, right? How many people on here how many people would stay at work when if you work 9 to 5 and 5 o'clock's done and you've done all your work and your assignment? How many people are gonna listen? And I'm talking about let's rewind. Not jobs that have comp time, not jobs that have overtime. Times that at 5 o'clock you're off the clock, you're not getting paid anymore. I get it. Sometimes we stay there because it's like, listen, I'm behind, but I'm talking about your work is finished. Your boss says, I don't know what you're staying here to 6, 7, 8 o'clock. I'm not paying you for it. So most people, what are we going to do? We're going to pack up. We're going to get our stuff and we're going to roll out, right? Think about it. So, I'm not telling you not to commit, not to be dedicated. I'm not telling you, to be a short slacker or be a sloth. But when your work is not honored, like Yeshua said, right? When your teaching's not honored, when your prayers are not honored, See, I know it's a tough subject because we were warned over and over that sometimes, Sister Sharon, the heaviness and the weight, the battles that we are facing, we're battling other people's demons and they don't want to battle them. We're battling other people's fights, they don't want to fight them. And we're being left with what? The war wounds. Or we're being left with what? The soldiers that now we're fighting because this person, right, dumped off all their soldiers or all their demons onto you because we stepped up into a battle in a war or we stood somewhere that was too long that we shouldn't have been, that we shouldn't have been. So listen, when your work's not honored, right? when there's no fruit from your labor, right? We all like to see the fruit from the labor, Prophet Jason, right? Right? We got to understand when it's time to what? Abandon ship and what? Spend time with the Father, right? Sometimes we're stuck because, truth be told, reality, we never ever fulfilled the original assignment that he gave us. So we're like, man, why am I still here? Why can't I move forward? Because Yah said, I told you in 1974, this is what you were supposed to do, but you want to still be ignorant. I told you in 1985, this is what you were. I told you in 2005, and we're still ignoring the one thing that he told us to do so we can get what? Our assignment wrapped up. Sometimes because it's fear. We don't want to, it's the fear. We don't want to move forward. Or, you know, listen, sometimes we just did the assignment, but we did it with a complaint. Many times, yeah, I'm going to do this work at work, but you're complaining the whole time while you're doing it. So you never ever mastered, or you never did it up to your full capacity. That's why every day we pray and we judge ourselves to make sure that, yes, are we fulfilling our way and our walk in our direction that Yah wanted us to what? He wanted us to go. Let's be real here. I was saying this. We are all formed by our choices in life. Period. It is. We reflect our choices. Other people can see them. You reflect your choices. Excuse me. I reflect my choices, right? And I get it. I understand that we could say, well, I didn't have control of this. I didn't have control of that. But you have control of what? The situation now, because most of the time it's sometimes we're locked in some stuff that we just can't break free from. And that falls back on us, right? So we have put ourselves, unfortunately, in binding tight situations, right? And then we want to turn around and say, well, listen, this is just the way of life. This is what happened. The Most High, Mom, we know, we've been taught, he will always find and give you a way out, but it's up for you. It's up for you to take it. We don't, because we get comfy in our mess, right? We're still stuck, and we know that we didn't complete the assignment, or we could have done it better, right? And we're still there rewriting the paper. Years going on, rewriting the paper, right? So, you know, the thing is that, you know, it's like we got to make sure that we are listening to the Most High, especially when we're dealing with areas of intercession. I know I did a lesson a couple weeks ago, and we just came out of a time period that we were praying for each other for 7 days in our Kwaha, in our assembly, right? Everybody had a different prayer time, and I'm just leave that there because I'm not going to put that out. But what happened is during that prayer time, we were praying for people that we knew were praying for us and interceding for us, for the people that had the late night shift, the early morning shift, even when you were tired, you understood, you know, because there was the power in prayer. It goes many times that people say, I'm going to pray for you, and they never do. Or they're praying for your downfall. Yeah, I'm going to pray for you, but I'm going to pray for your downfall, right? So the issue is that sometimes we are just spinning our wheels, and we're in the same situation, because when Yah told us to what? He gave us the assignment, or he told us to leave, he told us to go, he told us to stay. We did the opposite. Your assignment would be like, it's like building a home, right? This is what happens. Our brains, we get so messed up. I would say, forget building. Yeah, we can say building a home. Or you're cleaning your home. I'm going to clean my house. So you start cleaning your master bedroom. Next thing you know, you walk downstairs to get some water. You start cleaning the kitchen. Next thing you know, as you walk past the kitchen, you walk in the living room. You're like, oh, let me vacuum that up. Now you start cleaning and vacuuming what? The living room. Then as you say, man, the bag needs to be emptied, you go take the trash can bag out. Y'all get the point. I go outside, dump it in the trash can. You're like, oh, man, this trash can is filthy out here. I got to take the trash out. So I roll the trash out front. You put the trash on the corner, on the curb. You go walk back to your house. You say, look at these weeds out front. We're scatterbrained, right? We're moving all over, and we never finished what we started. So we got a bunch of what? Mini messes all around us, and all the mini messes become one whole, right? Because we we understood the assignment, but we never what? Finished the assignment or the task. We never fully accepted our placement that Yah has put us in. We never fully accepted it. And, you know, we're like, oh, I know I should be upstairs cleaning upstairs, but now I'm down. Now I'm downstairs washing dishes. Now I'm outside picking weeds. Now I'm doing all these things, right, that I knew I should have been doing, and I got nowhere. Sometimes the assignment is hard. Sometimes the assignment is painful. Sometimes the Most High says, listen, I'm giving you a time period, Sister Sharon. I need you to have this done. This has to be done. Sister Sharon, and I love you like a mother, like a sister, and even Mom, y'all, there's been times it's been an assignment. I need you to have this done by this day. Y'all know I dragged my feet on some things that was going on out here for the longest time. And now it's like, oh, it feels like it's a monster because, you know what? I didn't listen to the wisdom. I didn't listen to when people were telling me, hey, listen, you need to get this done. And sometimes it takes other people to give you a time and a date to make you meet it. So it's okay sometimes when you got to reach out. Hey, elder, listen, I'm making a goal that I'm going to use this, drive 500 miles in my car by the end of the summer. Well, make sure that you tell somebody, because sometimes people, they can help enforce that. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 1, verse 1 through 4. And we can get into this lesson right here. I want y'all to hear this. I want y'all to hear this real quick. 1 Kings chapter 1. Yeah, 1 through 4. King David, right, now was a very old man. Y'all listening? And although his servants, what? Covered him with blankets, he could not keep warm. So his officials said to him, right, Your Majesty, let us find you a young woman to stay with you and take care of you. I know King David was just itchy. He was happy. Yes, Sister Sharon. Yeah, staying focused to get what? To get his full what? His full glory, right? So 1 Kings 1. He says, verse 2, so his official said to him, Your Majesty, let us find a young woman to stay with you and take care of you. She will what? Keep you warm. A search was made all over Israel for a beautiful young woman. And in Sunem, this says it's different, but in Sunem they found such a woman named Abishag, and she brought her to the king and was brought to the king. She was very beautiful and waited on the king and took care of him, but she did not what? Have intercourse with the king. So listen, when we look at this, right? I just talked about hard assignments. So when we look at this lesson, she had assignment. She was called by David, or she was called by what? By his wife. Either called by sorry about that. She was called by King David's wife, right? So now, 1 Kings 15. Yeah, it's Bathsheba. Okay. So she was called by his wife. I need you to do assignment. I need your help. Because she had to flee from the royal order. Think about it. It's a royal order. Sometimes we will do assignments, manly, worldly assignments, but not what? Do the assignment that the Most High Yah has told us and given us. That's another lesson, right? But could she have done the job? Could she have done what? A half job? Could she have been, making excuses? Think about it. I know this had to have been hard. Put yourself in, right? As a young, and I know y'all my women on here. I don't see anybody else on there, or the young man. But a young woman back in your early teens, right? And I understand that the way we look at things now at 13, 14, 15, you're not considered a woman. In biblical days, you were. But you were in your early teens. King David was 70. The Bible tells us here that, yes, they didn't have a relation. It was very important. But could you imagine the assignment that you were given I'm a fast forward, 21, to go lie in a bed with a man who was 70, right? You're laying there, and I get it. As we get older, there's certain things we could do. But I'm talking about just rewind your brain to your young time. Lying there with an elderly person who's probably sick. They said he wasn't doing well. He probably was using the bathroom in the bed. Remember, they didn't have diapers and Pampers and all the other different things that was out there. He probably was having mental mind issues. He could have been suffering from losing parts of his mind, right? So just imagine you're putting yourself in that, right? In that situation, right? And you're lying there, right? But she stayed the course. You're there with a man who's probably up and moaning and groaning in the middle of the night. You're young, now you're not getting sleep. But she accepted her placement and stayed the course. She understood at that time that, hey, this was a time period that the Most High wants me to be here. Remember, and I know we get into that because they were from another nation, but most of the people in the nations at that time, they were what? Following Yahuwah and following what? The ways, because all 12 tribes, remember, were united at the time under King David. So understood that most of the nation, everybody was still worshiping the same Elohim, the same God, and they understood the way and the walk, right? So, even sometimes when we don't see it, the Most High has what? Plans, right? Even, Sister Sharon, times that we're like, what is the plan? Lord, show me. I've had that. I've been driving down the road. Lord, show me. Show me, tell me what's going on. What is the plan? Sometimes he doesn't want to reveal the plan because we may not like the answer to what his plan is going to be. And we what? Don't do the assignment that he told us to do. Y'all getting this? So, we saw that as we keep reading. I want y'all to go in there and read it, right? So basically, King David, she was laying with him. She was there. She was, I guess they believed that she was going to revitalize him, but she was what? Keeping the body warm. It goes in 1 Kings 1:15. So Bathsheba went to see the king in his bedroom. He was very old, and Abishag, the young woman from Sumeah, was taking care of him. Bathsheba bowed low before the king, and he asked, "What do you want?" She said, "Your Majesty, you made a solemn promise in the name of Yah that my son Solomon would be king after you." So now we got to be biblical scholars and go back and read this, because see, we got to see, well, what happened between when David's death and Solomon Solomon was what? Supposed to be the next king. We understand that there were some things that were going to happen, but I need y'all to go back and read if you know the story, right? So now she's like, listen, I need you to get well enough, right? Bathsheba understood her assignment was to get somebody to what? Revitalize David so I can speak to you, so I can what? Solidify the covenant for what? The future and for our future generations. Because understand, David had many children. David had many wives. He had many wives from within Israel and many wives from outside of Israel, right? And this is how they did, right? It was in order. It was biblical, whether we like it or not. If we say it's not, then we got to say that King Yeshua is not the Mashiach. I know people don't like to deal with it because they're just going to say, well, then that lineage came up born in sin, but there was no blemish. But y'all want to talk about this? We can talk about that topic, but I don't want to go into that. But she understood not right now, but she understood, this was my assignment, and my assignment was to get this girl to do her assignment. So what? My lineage, or so Solomon could what? Get in his correct seat, right? So, she understood. Sometimes, see, the Most High puts people in our circumference for us what? To understand that Yah has a greater revelation, right? So if we move back and I just want y'all to go read the story, right? So if you go through the story, we keep reading, we can jump into 1 Kings 1, jump down to like 22. She was still speaking when Nathan arrived. I don't really like to do this, y'all. I want to go in order. But the king was told that the prophet was there, and Nathan went in and bowed low before the king. He then said, "Your Majesty, have you announced that Adoniah would succeed you as king?" So there was an issue here. Remember, he came from what? Another marriage, right? So David's other son, which would have been Solomon's brother, wanted to be the king, right? At this time. So now you had the prophet that was coming in, Nathan, was like, wait, hold on. We gotta let everybody know what's going on here. This did you know he would succeed you as king? This was the first day he has gone and offered a sacrifice of bull, sheep, fattened calves. He invited all your sons, Joab, the commander of your army, Abiathar the priest, and right now they are feasting with him, shouting, long live Adonijah. But he did not invite me, sir, or the Zadok priest, or Benaiah or Solomon. See, they were out of order. Prophet JC, they were moving out of order. I'm in 1 Kings, right? They understood that there had to been a correct order. Even Bathsheba knew that she was like, I knew my son, who was supposed to be King Solomon, something was going to happen that she was like, I got to revitalize my husband. I need what? I need to come up with a plan, right? And to understand, right, that in order for things to go the way they should, see, listen, sometimes people will try to come in and people will come in and other people will what? Try to pass off, and other people will try to what? Transfer things that weren't supposed to be theirs from the very beginning. But y'all are going to deal with that, y'all, right? So, you know, when we look at this, and we know that Solomon was wanted to be, right, Sister Sharon, Solomon was ordained or was supposed to be next in line, right? And Adonijah was like, wait, hold on for a second. Let me come up with another plan, right? So what happened was, when we look at this, King David also asked Bathsheba to come back in, right? And she came and stood before him. Then he said to her, I promise you by the living Lord who has rescued me from all my troubles, that today I will keep a promise I made to you in the name of Yahuwah, that the God of Israel, that your son Solomon will succeed me as king. So when we jump back in, right, we got to go back over. We have to understand that when King David, right, was there, now Adonijah, right, he understood. Y'all, I got to go back up. I got to go back because y'all got to understand. Solomon was made king. We go into 1 Kings 11. So y'all understood this because I jumped over the key point of today of the lesson. Then Nathan went to Bathsheba, Solomon's mother, and asked her, haven't you heard that Haggith's son Adonijah made himself king, and King David doesn't know anything about it? If you want to save the life and the life of your son Solomon, I would ask you, go at once to King David and ask him, Your Majesty, didn't you promise to me that my son would succeed you? How is it then that Adonijah had become king? And Nathan added, then while you are still talking with the king, I will come in and confirm, right? So when we look at this and we're looking at this lesson, right? They understood royal order. They understood that, listen, there are some things that I'm going to need to do in order to make sure that we're staying in alignment and we're doing the things that the Most High wanted to happen. Remember, Haggith went to Abraham and asked him and said, hey, listen, Abraham. Shoosh, my brain somewhere else. Gabriella wrote on Abraham, and she did a splendid job today, right? All praise it. She wrote this story. She went and she said that Haggith, his mother, went and said, listen, if there's anything that I'm asking a request, can I request that my son marries what? That he says, see, I should have held off on this one, y'all. He asked for Adonijah. He said, listen, if Adonijah ended up taking I'm trying to find it. I don't know how I skipped it. All right, so we go back to dealing with when she was taking care of Solomon. It's like, I'm sorry, y'all. When she was taking care of, of David, right? If Adonijah had took that girl as his wife, he would have became king. If he had took her as a concubine, because see, a way back then was, and that's where I meant to cover it back when I was talking about the wives. It shot went out my head. If you took someone's wife at that time, or you took someone's concubines, you were automatically considered the king. So remember, they went forward saying, "Hey, listen, can my son marry her?" So right then and there, that's what she said, wait, well, we're going to have to go and deal with all this, right? So imagine, right, if she didn't do her assignment. Imagine if she wasn't what? Sitting in her place. And you know why she was in there taking care of David. She heard kingdom business. She understood the way that everything was being ran. She understood. And so now at this time, his son is probably looking at her like, I need her because she understands everything, right? It was a way that the Most High used her to what? Take care of David, but it was being used to expose the ill intent of someone that was supposed to be what? The family member, the one that said they love you, the one that said they cared for you, the one that said, hey, hold on, I want to be king, right? So it was a way to show even Solomon that your own brother had what? Had a whole nother agenda, right? A whole nother agenda. And if she didn't play that, if she wasn't in that seat, maybe he would have never saw it. Maybe it would have never been exposed. Maybe if she never took care of him, they would have never not have known what his brother was being led, how he was being led, right? To what? To basically be a snake, to try to take over. So those things, like I said, they got to take place. Yah will sometimes put you in place for other reasons. And I'm sorry, Shalom, I'm sorry, y'all, because I got it. Slack it. 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 13. Then Adonijah went, whose mother was Haggith, went to Bathsheba. So he went to what? Solomon's what? Mother, right? And said, is this a friendly visit? So she knew right here, like, wait, her spirit's like, wait, why are you coming to see me, right? It is, she answered. And then he added, I have something to ask you. What is it, she asked? Verse 15. He answered, you know that I should have, this is Adonijah coming. You know that I should have became king and that everyone in Israel expected it. He's saying, what you did and what you're trying to do with Solomon, everybody knew that I was the one that was supposed to be king, right? But it happened differently. And my brother became king because it was Yah's will. But I now have one request to make. Please don't refuse me. Listen, even your enemy knew. He understood that it was what? It was Yah's will that my brother was going to be the king, but he still said, I got to still sit on my own plan. I'm going to try to undermine the Most High in his actions or his direction. Y'all see how sneaky people are? He sat and said, okay, I get it. I understand that Solomon was ordained to be the king because it was Yah's will, but he was being led by Satan to be like, I'm going to still try to undermine the Most High. You got to watch people. It says right here, and now I have one request to make. Please do not refuse me. Bathsheba asked. He answered, please ask King Solomon, right? He came in. Please ask him, right? And I know he won't refuse you. Let me have Abishag, right? The young woman from Shunem as my wife. Very well, she answered, right? I will speak to the king for you. So, you know, did she understand the concept that if he took her as a wife, because I understand that it doesn't say that Abishag was a total concubine, but concubines at that time weren't always just used for the sexual purpose. They were used to what? Take care of family members. They were used to take care of children. They were used and they understood kingdom business. But like I said, if you understand the history that if he had took something that was that someone was close to David, he could have really articulated and said, well, my dad was 70 plus years old. He's laying in bed with this girl. What you mean? No, they had relationships. And now that became an issue right there. And, you know, and now you have a way that you can say, this is why I can be king, right? So we understand Solomon with all his wisdom, he understood that. So she says in verse 21, she answered, let your brother, go back and read in order, Azaniah have Abishag as his wife. So Solomon says, why do you ask me to give Abishag to him, the king asked, you might as well ask me to give him the throne too. Solomon knew that. He had the wisdom. He was like, wait, if he takes this woman who was taking care of my father, regardless of the relation, she lived in the same house, she was laying in the same bed, now we have another problem, right? Listen, if she wasn't sitting in her assignment, if she wasn't taking care of him, if she wasn't sleeping in the bed with the man was probably snoring and causing rumbles and bass rumbles throughout the whole night while she, if she wasn't doing these things, they would have not have probably known what his whole full agenda was, right? Sometimes Yah will what? Have you sit in your assignment, have you sit in your seat, right? Because sometimes you're sitting in the seat for someone else so they can understand. Y'all getting this? They can understand and they see the assignment. You're the revelation that they need to see, right? So, and I'm done here, right? I'll tell you, I came on a little early, right? So it says, you might as well what? Ask me to give him the throne too. After all, he is my older brother, and Abiathar the priest and Joab are on his side. So Solomon's like, wait, I can't, you coming to me, you gonna ask me to give him something else to allow him to become king, right? When I'm already battling where people are upset because, hey, listen, the mantle was passed down correctly, but though everybody else wants something else done. Y'all better be careful but see, that's why the Elijah and Elisha and the mantle is so important. Yah, when he says this is the mantle, this is Prophet Jason, you got to go back and catch it. He understood that the kingship was passed down and he still said, I'm gonna still undermine. Just like saying if someone passes a mantle, if the mantle was passed correctly, that's the way it should be ordained and that's the way it's going to be. But when you start moving contrary to what Yah has said or who Yah has spoke through, there's going to be some serious judgment that comes down somewhere down the line because you moved out of order, right? So he said, you might as well, just go ahead and give him the kingship. It says, then Solomon made a solemn promise in Yah's name. May Yah strike me dead if I don't make Adonai pay with his life for asking this. He understood this, that, he used his ways to be sneaky. He was setting this whole thing up. He went to moms, couldn't even come to me. Like, that's my brother, because why? He knew that Solomon probably would have just said off with his head right there on the spot because he understood his sneaky ways and understood his deceit. Listen, I know if that happened, we probably wouldn't have known Solomon for who he is today. We may not even know him. Imagine if she didn't sit and do her calling. Imagine she said, I'm not sitting with this 70-year-old man laying in the bed, taking care of him, wiping his butt, feeding him, doing all these type of things that she was doing, right? So even if your assignment is tough, even if, you're struggling in your purpose, even if you're like, man, I know I'm still here because I didn't reach my purpose, make your purpose and tell Yah, listen, I believe my time is up. My purpose was made. Like Yeshua said, my time was up, right? Ask him. Now tell me when is my time to move forward and what's my next assignment. Your assignment can be the result, just like we saw with Abishag and Solomon and David and Bathsheba, for the future kingdom, for your future family members, for people. Your success, right, or even your failure can determine the outcome. So we need to ask Yah, listen, and we need to pray to him to show us, to make us understand, is this truly my assignment or is it not? And ask him, hey, when is it time for me to leave my assignment? So listen, y'all, I know I came on early today, and I just asked that y'all just go back and really read this chapter. Just read First Kings in general and just look. It's the little things sometimes that we miss in scripture. And I understand there's a lot of your scholars that gonna come on later on that be like, oh, yep, I've been read that. Good. But there's little details sometimes that we miss. We see things over and over, and then we ask Yah, wow, this wasn't a full assignment that she participated in, she completed, she did, and she was going to be, she actually, in a sense, her family was going to be rewarded anyway, right? So listen, y'all, I hope that the Most High continues to bless y'all, keep y'all safe, and if there's any questions, comments, concerns, inbox me, and we'll see you next Shabbat. Shalom, shalom, shalom.